important series that these two have ever played. Let's see what today has in store for us. Different maps, of course, but no different than we have been playing on for a little while. In the top left side of Berlingrad, still after all these years, representing Team Liquid. He was also part of the Team Liquid bootcamp in the Netherlands just a couple of weeks ago. This is the Polish Protoss and MaNa.
In the bottom right is the red Zerg for Team ENCE. He is Serral.
And he's opening up with a spawning pool. No hatch first on the side of the great Jonas Sotala. There was a probe preventing that drone from morphing into a hatch 3. Now we're playing a little juking game. MaNa just seeing... Actually, it's pretty smart to go to the triangle first because nobody really takes the base at 3 o'clock. It seems that Serral is going to be like, no, someone will. I will. But most of the time when they can take the hatchery, they actually take the forward expand so they can really start getting that creep out ASAP.
Right, yep. That is certainly true, but also certainly true is that MaNa almost always blocks Zerg's natural. I think that is something you just expect from MaNa. It feels like other Protosses kind of come and go, maybe once in a while, but MaNa, it's 100% of the time. MaNa has a way of opening, for sure. But what I'm happy about with the recent developments of Protoss versus Zerg, the recent nerfs to Protoss specifically, I guess, is that I'm happy, first of all, that PvZ seems more fun, yes. But second of all, I'm happy that I think that more fun playstyle works better with MaNa. I really like a MaNa who can get aggressive and take control of the situation. I mean, that doesn't mean that he always wins. Obviously, he still has struggles against Serral in 5 years worth of metas. The first... recorded match being 2017, but I feel like it's just a more exciting and like closer game when he gets to do that. So I was hoping to see it here on Berlingrad, something aggressive, Twilight Council, Resident Enclaves, that could absolutely happen. That's still an old standard on this map, but we have been seeing more of that Blink Stalker pressure, and I think MaNa's great with it.
This is going to be a little bit annoying because of the early pool that Serral had. It wasn't super early. He's still going to get a couple of links in the main base, and you really want to make sure you don't lose a probe here. It shouldn't happen, especially not at a player the caliber of MaNa, but there are a few more links sharking outside of the natural too. So at this point, you don't really have the chill start where it's like, all right, nothing's happening. Nope, you're going to be forced to run some probes around. MaNa turns one probe around from the natural immediately. And this is, I think, kind of where Serral's like, all right, let's get warmed up. Let's get things going. Let's see if you're on the money. And so far, MaNa is on the money. He's absolutely supposed to be against slow links. But I kind of hate starts like this as a player myself, where I'm like, oh, I'm already chasing links around. My probes can't do what they want. Because now your build is already off by a couple of minerals here and there.
It is, absolutely. The Adept can't go across the map and even try and do some harassment, or perhaps more importantly, do some scouting, although you wouldn't expect Serral to put out anything early aggression-wise. And then your own build does get like 100% scouted. There's always a little bit of doubts in the opener for the Zerg about what they can see, right? So Warp Gate first or second, that gives a clue as to Stargate, sure. But then Protosses, they will try and trick you very intentionally. So just to get that confirmation on a Stargate coming out first and foremost, it's a lot of intel. It's a lot of safety for the first couple of minutes. It could be following up with that Twilight Council, absolutely. A little bit later, Resident Enclaves. But then you just kind of keep tabs on that third Nexus, right? Which Serral is absolutely going to do. Speaking of the Adept harassment that was a bit late, actually someone got into the main base and then actually is able to escape.
Yeah, he used the probe to mine out the minerals here on Berlingrad, so that was kind of cute. And in an ideal world, he would have been lucky if Serral would have just leaped that creep tumor forward again. He would have been able to pick that one off. That would have been a sweet start. Also tried to block the drone that morphed into a spore crawler. Just pick up one cheeky drone kill, but no freebies yet for MaNa. Serral so far definitely on the money, but... Oh, okay, I was about to say, come on. That is a lot of damage on an Oracle for a creep tumor in the main base, though, and the Adapts do get somewhat surrounded. They will get fully surrounded. And this is actually a bit painful because we don't have a battery here yet, so we end up losing both Adapts, we end up losing the probe, and we may very well end up losing this pylon unless Oracle number 2 can save the day. And that is exactly what happened, but so far Serral definitely getting the best of these little early game exchanges.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Roach 1 coming down, very safe for Serral as he continues to also get more drones, adding up on that layer 2. MaNa did add on the Twilight Council going into that blink. No surprises there if you've not been paying attention to StarCraft 2 in the last 4 months. Maybe it is a bit of a surprise, but here's the update. Blink Stalkers back in the meta, back in fashion. And like I was saying, I think I like MaNa, who's able to play around with this style, even though it doesn't always net him wins. You know, earlier I made kind of a too long DPZ analogy, but the thing is that I always do it for MaNa, which I kind of forgot about, but works out really perfectly. Because MaNa, he's the type of player that will do like fairly well, or even really well for 90% of the game, then wait, kind of make a fatal mistake and then go Super Saiyan mode. And you would be like, well, MaNa, if only you'd done this like earlier, right? You would be beast mode, you'd be winning all your PvZs. So that's kind of what I'm expecting here, is how this first push is going to go. Is it going to be clobbered? Is Serral going to be totally on top of it? And then is MaNa going to go beast mode with this micro and make us all very impressed with him, as we usually are, even when he gets 0-2'd by Serral.
This is very quick 4 bases, man. I know that's kind of standard perhaps with this meta and this build order, but I'm still pretty impressed by that. Serral tried to go up to 4 bases as well, but he's like, yeah, if the stalkers are already heading my way, I don't quite have the roaches out yet. And basically everything that you described to me sounded like a European zest.
Oh, well, yeah, that's actually... I guess that could be described as zest as well. I node because that revelation was kind of perfectly wrong. Middle 2 creep tumors were found out, but the other 2 were not. But it is just it's literally just a creep spread cleanup job for these stalkers and oracles. So at least they're getting it done.
Serral does scout the 4th base of MaNa immediately with a single ling, and he's like, all right, so I guess you're being a very gritty boy. And now I have the feeling that Serral's probably going to build a lot of early game units where he's like, all right, I know you're good with the blink stalkers, but I also am not totally sure if I can let her get away with all of this, because traditionally it's always the Zerg that is slightly economically ahead and then tries to make something happen. The Proto shouldn't be economically ahead, as this is quite a few links, perfect timing right before the battery is up, before the cannon is up as well, but MaNa did wipe in a couple of zealots. They don't have +1 yet, so you don't want to let all these zealots get surrounded either. But so far, I actually don't hate this setup for MaNa at all. You know, he's up a couple of workers, he went up to 4 bases quicker, the oracles are still alive. Did we get a lot done in this game so far? No, but macro-wise, it actually looks very good.
Absolutely does. I think Serral is even a little disappointed he couldn't find more on that 4th Nexus, considering that he had to delay his own 4th hatchery. And yeah, as Zerg play, you'd want to be on your 5th, really, if the Protoss is on their 4th already, and saturating it too. So we're going to get ourselves a bit of a longer macro game, right? But it's going to be at a faster pace than, you know, a bunch of Void Rays, Mothership carriers, whatever like that. MaNa will eventually move out with a ground-based army, and Serral will have trouble against it. It's going to be a lot about positioning, maybe getting some of the Baneling shots to be quite good, hitting the heart of the army type situation. And then actually, we might even get to the Vipers way faster, right? The Hive's already on the way.
No.
Little funny here. Blocked his own hatchery, so that 5th is also late.
Makes me happy when I see little things like this. It's like, he's human after all. You know, there is no such thing as perfect play. Serral does make a couple of beauty errors too. That drone is still just single-handedly taking out the creep tumor. Takes a little while. I have the feeling that MaNa should absolutely be able to hit one very scary timing, where even if you are as good as Serral, you're going to need to micro really well, position your army defensively very powerful, make sure that you're ready for a run by, because if we take a look at the amount of gateways, it's 9 gates at this point. The only thing we don't have, and I find it a bit surprising, is a robo. Maybe that's somewhat standard with this style, but I feel like at this point, having an observer, having an immortal, or a prism to warp in some units would be lovely. And charge is still not totally done yet either. MaNa's a bit out of position. I do think we're fine here with battery overcharge, but we don't want to lose too many probes, and he won't actually. A bit of a Baneling donation, because the first wave of Banelings didn't do much. Second wave of Banelings coming in, looking for the High Templars probably, but they won't connect with High Templars. It's actually still, okay, I want to say looks alright, but now the cannon is unpowered, now the battery is unpowered, and even more Banelings come in, and the man never runs out of Banelings.
No, apparently not. I think MaNa was also saying, oh, it's not that bad, I'll take care of things. Suddenly more Banelings, more Lings show up. Fast reinforcements after all, and things have kind of snowballed a little bit. Serral is going to take out the Nexus and have a Hive, upgrades, and apparently Spire. Oh, no, he's not going to get the Nexus. Okay, so that's then maybe recoverable, right? 18 probes still went down. A lot of army went down. That really sucks too, because Serral, he contaminated Storm. And I think if that Chrono Boost had actually been able to finish that Storm, the High Templars that were still alive towards the beginning, middle of that fight might have gotten 1 or 2 storms off.
Imagine just one more pylon behind the mineral line powering that battery, powering that cannon. Then I actually think that entire fight goes a lot better too. But even now, it indeed wasn't that much of a disaster. MaNa did lose more resources, and that is not completely standard in a PvZ. But on the other hand, it's also not standard that he's been mining more than his opponent for the vast majority of this game. So in that way, we can sort of survive Serral is coming back for seconds, though. The storm is good, but we need multiple good storms on roaches, and in the end, he actually just kind of settles for storming the lings. Now there are more roaches and banelings coming in from the top right. I'd love to see Pulsar Beam. It is being activated. The baneling count is high enough to take out the Nexus this time around, and 27 probes go down in the process as well. GG gets called. Serral just doing Serral things. Like, oh, does it look dicey though, commentators? Are you guys worried about me? Because I'm not worried. Hive done, Spire done, Adrenal Gland's about to finish up, and he still just wins.
I have to double check that replay because I'm actually quite confused as to how MaNa was using his units. You know, we saw the initial creep cleanup, and that was all Gucci. Maybe the fourth base was a little... what's the word? Late responding. The first attack on the fourth base, but that was kind of excusable. It was okay. Then the next attack got way worse because it had that snowball effect. It was one of those, oh, I might have enough units. Okay, I don't have enough units. All right, never mind. It seemed like he was supposed to have tabs on Serral's army at all times, right? The Blink Stalkers can try and aggress and then perhaps just blink back if they get overwhelmed. The Oracles obviously are great at scouting that army, and it felt like he just lost track of it. Right? So he didn't really know where it was or the full extent of the army either, so he didn't prepare accordingly. I mean, the storm timing was awkward, the Contaminate was awkward, but yeah, he just was late with all of his units, so he lost 12 Zealots, then 6 Stalkers, then 6 more Stalkers.
Yeah, it sucked that the initial fight kind of started right before charge was done as well, right? Where you're like, I think I have enough. It's like, never mind, the Zealots are really bad right now. So then you run back and then charge does finally finish up. I do want to mention during that final attack when the game ended, Serral also had 4 banelings rolling into the third. And MaNa did kind of see it because he walked in a couple Stalkers, but those 4 banelings still killed 18 probes. The other 9 probes went down at the fourth. So then you just lose a base and 27 probes, and MaNa's like, all right, I may believe in miracles, but I definitely don't believe in this miracle on Berlingrad. So let's just get it over with and go ahead and hop into game 2. On the top right side, the world champion of StarCraft 2, finally winning the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice this year, still representing ENS. Beautiful jersey, by the way, this time around. This is a Serral.
To the bottom left is the blue Protoss for Team Liquid, also having a beautiful jersey. He's MaNa.
I see what you're doing. You know, Team Liquid is always listening. They send out some goodies every now and then. I'm with you, Zombie Grub. That Team Liquid jersey is beautiful. I love it. Oh my goodness, the things I would do to get my hands on one of those.
The places I would go to just be able to pick one up super easily. No.
Actually, I cannot complain. Team Liquid has been super sweet. I've had so many Team Liquid shirts, and I think even a hoodie over the years. I had a jacket as well, actually, so they've been spoiling me a little bit.
I had a Oli Moly, working multiple events, working for Team Liquid, all that stuff. She actually was like, do you want some t-shirts just from like variety of things? She's been working StarCraft for so long. So your mom can make a new quilt. And I was like, oh, I don't know if she's going to be making me a second t-shirt quilt, but that's what I ended up doing. I had like 30 StarCraft, jerseys, t-shirts, hoodies, whatever. And then I just got my mom to cut out the center and then make a nice quilt. So that's what you can do. Because I know a lot of esports people out there probably have a drawer or a closet just for esports stuff. Get into a quilt. There you go.
I have no idea what that word is that you're using.
Oh, quilt? Oh, it's like a blanket.
Okay. I'm familiar with blankets.
That's my bad.
I have quite a bit of esports t-shirts and hoodies, but I definitely don't have a dedicated drawer or closet for it. I don't know. I just wear it like everyday stuff. It's just blended in with all the football jerseys and everything else.
Right. That's true. You do that as well. Yeah. I think it was maybe more popular years ago. I don't know. I definitely haven't gotten as many jerseys or free swag, I guess is what it is, in the last 5 years compared to the first 5 years, where it felt like I just had so much. And maybe that has to do with maybe a little lack of merchandise. I was buying a lot of Pro League stuff back when that was still going on. But anyways, total side tangent. We got another Stargate opener. Actually, a very similar opener to the last game for MaNa, just without the lings bothering him.
I have the green air jacket. That's what I have. And I think it looks kind of cool. And I used to wear it sometimes in everyday life. But And I saw people give me funny looks because it has a big Korean flag on it. And I'm like, well, let me have it. I like it. It's kind of cool. But, you know, eventually I got a bit bigger. The jacket got a little smaller. So I'm wearing it a little less right now, Zombie Grub. But yes, you're right. About the game, it does look very similar to the previous one.
Yeah, the damn washing machine, right? Just shrinking all the clothes.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. It's not that I grew. No way.
No.
Best shape I've ever been in.
Twilight Council coming out. I think MaNa really could have been happy with the first, 6 minutes, 7 minutes of that game, even with the Lings kind of being a bother. I still think that, you know, they both accepted it was going to get to a certain point. But then at the certain point of, okay, we're allowed to do some stuff. We have kind of armies. We can start moving around the map. It just fell so awkwardly, too. It was like a Jenga tower where one side fell a little bit, and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. And then, like, the whole thing fell, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I lose. Like, it was really not a great feeling to an end, but it probably felt pretty good, again, for the first 6 minutes. So MaNa might be happy trying to replicate it and then just, you know, fix that fourth base problem.
Yep. Like one extra pylon as well, and then the first attack would have been so much easier to deal with. It's one of the saddest things when you have one pylon powering not just the overcharged battery, which is your focus on, but also the cannon, because that consistent DPS helps out so much. Because Blink Stalkers are great in being able to keep them alive, and eventually they can snowball, but they don't have that much consistent DPS. So having a cannon just chipping away at Lings and also drawing some of the shots to it, well, maybe the battery can heat it up. It really does change so much. And impossible holds suddenly become a whole lot more possible if you just have that extra pylon.
Absolutely. That certainly was missing. The start of the snowball, a couple extra stalkers still alive. They're able to join up with the other stalkers that are reinforcing, and you do have kind of that critical mass that stalkers need to be at. So I'm sure that's what MaNa's thinking first and foremost about. It is such a similar game, too. It looks like he's even going to be... Okay, and he stays trapped at the fourth base. Cute. But I was going to say, looks like he's probably going to try and clear up some of that creep again with the oracles, using their detection. And then I guess, you know, the other thing, besides having that extra pylon or maybe a little bit tighter on the defense of his third base, too, right? Because he also lost those two adepts, is using the oracles to track the army. Like... He probably did it. I'm going to guess he did 85%, you know, really close to all the time. But 100% what was missing. So got caught by surprise. And I think that could be a new focus too. But definitely using this one to clear up that creep.
Yeah, I think he was still on cleanup duty. Dropping a couple of revelations on creep tumors here and there towards the top side of the map, trying to take away some vision. And suddenly he was a bit out of position. In the previous game, Serral thought he could not defend this base because he felt that his roaches were a little bit late, so he cancelled it. This time around, Serral seems to be quite confident that he can fight this. Doesn't have too many units here, but Queens are so damn good in buying time. But they're gonna have to continue doing this because Serral is still running a little low on units and has a bit more energy to work with. That's honestly pretty perfect defense. Lost 7 additional Lings, but that's literally...
Would have been nice to be able to pick off one of those queens, but not sure MaNa was necessarily thinking he was going to be able to. Just one of those, oh, maybe, okay, never mind. And now we have the return back home to get to that fourth base, actually defend that. Don't let any of these snowballs start, and it's not a huge snowball with a couple of Lings, right? But then it's the delayed pylon, the delayed shield battery, then it's delayed, you know, overcharge, whatever. That was kind of scary. Actually, though, he defends the fourth base totally fine. Everything's up and running there. And the oracles, we're not only able to get 6 drones, but also get a decent amount of scouting on what the technology composition is going to be. That might have been obvious, but making sure to actually get it. And then I think they can escape off the right side eventually. I think they'll be good there, or they could be recalled.
Yeah,
they are
exactly.
definitely still necessary.
Second Forge, that is definitely a bit different. Previous game, we did not see double Forge. So MaNa is going into all the upgrades this time around, and once more Templar Archives has the priority over Robo. If you just look at the numbers at the bottom side of the screen, you can definitely see why this style is all the rage for the Protoss players at the moment. They feel safe moving out because they've got the oracles protecting the stalkers. They can actually combat the creep a little bit, and pretty much at any given moment they are even or still up in workers. And then when they go up to 4 bases, it's around the same time. The Void Ray meta was obviously very powerful, and a lot of Protoss players felt very good about it. But at any given moment, they were down 10, 15, 20 workers, and they were often down in army supply too. It's just that the Zerg couldn't kill them on the other side of the map. But it is definitely fun to see. Serral does have quite a few units now and is willing to chase. Don't lose Oracle's mana. They are very important. And he doesn't play the triple Oracle style that a lot of Protoss players are very fond of, but he sticks with 2.
That's a good point. Yeah, just sticking on 2. I'll be paying close attention to the Storm as well, since last time that Contaminate, I think, hit at really a perfect time. There was like 20 seconds more to go, but it was being chrono boosted, so it was really awkward. But this time around, Serral does have, I think, the Overseer still alive. Yeah, he's actually got 2 now. It's not anywhere close to the main base. It looks like Storm's going to finish, upgrades are going to finish, and MaNa, most importantly, now checking it, has an idea where the army is. So his own army, all of the army that he will need to defend what he knows is Serral's entire army, is going to be in position.
Even sets up a little Zealot run by. Serral did, of course, spot it with a couple of those Overlords. These Zealots are going to go down. There's nothing they can really do. Serral probably doesn't want to use too many Banelings towards the end of it, and he's aware of that, so he doesn't use a single Baneling. Just lets a couple of links fall, and the Roaches will clean all of it up. We have a Robo this time around. It is obviously once more relatively late. This is kind of the moment, though, where MaNa has a sick economy. We're even going up to 5 bases. That's great and all. But you are a bit on the clock with these ground armies because you don't want to let your opponent just get Broodlords. You can fight a couple Broodlords, 3, 4. Once in a blue moon, you can take out 7 or 8. But eventually, Archon, High Templar, Stalker just doesn't get the job done. I'm sure MaNa knows about that, and he's going to try to end the game before we reach that critical mass of Broodlords.
I assume so. I think he saw... Oh, I didn't really see the infestation pit, but considering how the last game went too, you can take a quick look at it. You know, the hive's on the way, and considering how much that MaNa has certainly been practicing his PvZ, we'll know that in a fast-paced game like this, it's probably not unlikely that Serral's also trying to tech up, beat him to the push punch, actually get Broodlords ready, and then the Stalkers can't really tango with that. As you were saying, it's very rare to really be able to take on 7 to 8 Broodlords. That's usually because the Broodlords were lagging behind because they're so slow, or there really is nothing on the ground to protect them. It's just very, very rare, especially when a game is kind of passive. I mean, I like the pokes, the prods, the attempts at run-by, sure, all that good stuff, but really it's been a passive game. They both have allowed each other to get to all these bases. In fact, Serral even less aggressive than the last game, where he was able to win on the 4th base.
Yep, we do have +2 melee, and that is normally the upgrade where Zerg players are going to be a little more feisty, more of a couple of Banelings extra, and try to one-shot all those workers. MaNa is High Templars, gets around it, but he morphs it into an Archon. Good job there. These links are feisty, though, and Hadrino is not even done yet. They may win the fight against that morphing Archon, the Zealot, and that cannon, as MaNa does sneak a War Prism into the main base, and these Zealots are not bad either. They've got +2 attack, they've got +1 armor. Couple of Banelings, a lot of Banelings even being used. I really kind of want to see MaNa go for it now, man. Like, the 5 Broodlords are morphing. Okay, we're not going to hit a timing before that, but we are on 5 bases. We are rich. We have a crazy economy. We've got good upgrades. If we just sit back forever, I don't think that's the play. I'd love to see him just see if we can actually get some great trades, land a couple of big storms, force Serral to use a lot of those Banelings and spend more resources on additional Banelings to stay safe. Like, at this point, staying back, I think, is definitely a mistake. So let's go ahead and try to make some magic happen.
I think what sucks about this game for MaNa is that he never really had a moment where he could kind of hover around the edge of creep and be a bit of a bully. So as I said, like, it's been a bit passive. Both of them have been able to get to a certain point. For MaNa, that certain point is a maxed out, heavily upgraded ground army. Great, but not great if you miss your time to tackle someone pre-Broodlords, which he has already missed. So yeah, trying to be the bully now is going to be doubly difficult. In fact, maybe even impossible. And MaNa goes from being maybe able to push and pull and delay those Broodlords to probably just having to delay the Broodlords from attacking him, from getting to the side of the map. He needs to buy time, make some movement, and maybe get to his own air units. He does have at least the Stargate and a Fleet Beacon, but kind of maxed out. Can't really start adding on those Tempests.
We have an observer out on the map, and if he would have had the opposite with the army there, he would have been able to take out 5 or 6 Cryptumers in the center. Unfortunately, he's not able to do that. He has 4 High Templars inside of a War Prism on the left side, but he decides against it. He feels that maybe Serral has just a bit too much vision, and he does not want to lose that Prism when it's having such precious cargo. So instead, we're just going to build Tempest and defend, and now it's kind of turning into one of these ZVTs on Hardwire, where the Terran is just going to hang in there and try to trade more efficiently than the Zerg, I guess, because Tempests are not quite a unit. You're like, all right, here we go, on creep, let's go ahead and end it. And I guess Serral will end up being slightly more aggressive than MaNa is.
And as much as I was excited to have MaNa playing around the Stalkers, being the aggressor, didn't really happen here. Doesn't mean that he's bad in the late game. Obviously, Protoss players around the world getting a lot of experience here over the last couple of years. This is a nasty loss of life. 22 probes go down. This, though, might be a nasty loss of Banelings. They get the high tempo at the very least, but yeah, not too many extra probes. So that was a decent gas investment from Serral to do that. And the game is still at a point where they're both able to get to their perfect armies. No one's really pushing the buttons hard enough to win the game. They're just getting a couple probes, getting a hatchery apparently. Not bad. The Zealots live too.
Yeah, a couple Zealots make it out there. I have this, I always look at Tempest and I'm like, well, if we really need them, if we're being attacked, if we've dealt a lot of damage, yeah, I believe in them. But in these games where nothing is happening, I almost never see the Tempest shine. And obviously Serral is so damn good at realizing where he should position his Broodlords. That attack at the triangle was actually a big success. Like, yeah, the bottom right didn't go too well for Serral, but taking out the base, taking out a bunch of pylons, cannons, batteries, and 20 probes or so is big. I have the feeling that MaNa almost is ready to send it. He doesn't have too much gas, and he's going to lose a few more probes at this point. But this is the kind of army where I'm like, all right, now we're actually just going to try to get in range. We're going to soak up all those Broodlings on the ground. We have this many Archons. They are not good in killing stuff, but they're definitely good in creating a massive buffer for those Tempests and the Mothership and the High Templars to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, absolutely. 11 cotton balls there, guys. That's gonna soak a lot of Banelings. That's going to deal with a lot of Broodlings. This is still a feisty army. I'm glad the MaNa's finally pulling the trigger, but I don't know if he's... Yeah, the Fungal is going to actually do a great job of delaying too. Definitely one of Archon's weakness. Not a whole lot of range, so the Fungals capture the army to blink over to the left side to try and kill some of these Broodlings, but there are so many. The Transfuse comes down as well. The Corruptors are tackling the air army, apparently, and while this is a elongated fight, it looks like it is inevitably going to go in Serral's favor. MaNa finally admits it, but already losing 50 supply. Forced to run back to what is only a 4 base, if that, economy.
Yeah. I feel like we kind of need to have the Tempest in a perfectly position to one-shot Broodlord, so the Queens can really do that thing. We did reinforce with a bunch of Stalkers, and the Stalkers are chasing the Broodlords very far, but they get completely surrounded now by Broodlings, Zerglings, Banelings, and a couple of Roaches on the ground as well. And there aren't too many left of those 11 Archons, and it seems like the last 4 Archons will get picked off. MaNa supply is in double digits, and whenever you check that after a big fight, you're like, I think it was kind of bad. Let's take a look. You're like, oh my goodness. I'm at 86 supply. I don't have a lot of probes anymore. I'm losing bases left and right. And I feel like this game is just going out like a candle. Battery overcharge, but it seems like it's not in range, or maybe it is in range and there is just that visual bug, but the corrupted DPS is too damn high. It's kind of over, Zombie Grub.
It is, yeah. Yeah, that push looks feisty, but then once the first Fungal went down, I was like, oh, is it though? You can't. It really is just going to be taking out the free units of the Broodlings and then not much else. So that was not the fight at all that MaNa was envisioning. Certainly not what we were envisioning, and it was really all in. Even though 4 bases, 50 probes doesn't sound terrible, it pretty much is this late into the game. Even some neural parasites coming out. Little bit of style at the end of this best of 3, but Serral will once again take the